It's commonly said that judgment has no place in the life of one who is truly spiritual. It's rare to meet anyone who emphasizes or describes the value of judgment. The word judgment is a very touchy one, so I expect this video to ruffle some feathers. I do not subscribe to the commonly held notions that are mindlessly repeated as true. People are inclined to speak words simply because they sound good. It doesn't sound good, I get it, to say judgment exists as one of the greatest tools for evolution. But there indeed does exist a magic behind judgment, and we can tap into that magic. First of all, what is judgment? Contrary to popular belief and repetition, the word judgment does not mean condemnation, and it does not mean conflict with others or with ourselves. Judgment is the ability to make considered decisions or come to sensible conclusions. It can also mean the act of assessing a person or situation or event. We naturally judge. Throughout our journeys, we assess people, places, societal ongoings, and ourselves in order to judge what is best for our lives. We are all liars if we say we don't judge, and there is no problem in judgment in and of itself. Without making considered decisions, without coming to sensible conclusions in regards to what we desire and what we want or need to filter out, there is no life. We naturally judge ourselves and we naturally judge others. True spirituality, we're told, has no judgments, only love and acceptance. And yet, without judgment, even judgments that prove incorrect, there is no guidance. Maybe you disagree with what I just said, but in order to disagree with what I just said, you had to judge it as unacceptable or wrong, therefore proving exactly what I'm saying. So let us continue. We require the ruler of judgment of ourselves, of our situations, and of others, to measure what we value and what we don't. Only when we're certain as to what we desire in ourselves and in the world at large can we evolve. To say in another way, we judge in order to specifically direct the course of our lives. We don't accept everything in our lives. We all, whether we know it or not, set boundaries. We set boundaries in our food choices, within our relationships, within our schedules, within our choices of entertainment, our speech, and the list goes on. Our preferences, values, and personalities dictate where our boundaries are set. And in order to have boundaries, we must have judged what should be allowed and disallowed within our lives. Carl Jung is one of the most misquoted people on the subject of judgment. We have all heard, thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge. Which, by the way, is a judgment. But he never wrote this. He actually wrote, in Civilization in Transition, thinking is difficult, therefore let the herd pronounce judgment. Jung was advocating judgment as a personal act and not one directed by the herd or masses of society. We live in a culture that is increasingly allergic to judgment and to discernment, which is the ability to judge well. We hear, "Don't judge others," and even, "Don't judge yourself." We hear, "Love everyone, love yourself." These cookie-cutter statements sound nice to the ear, I'll agree, but they prove pretty worthless in our actual day-to-day experiences. There is no true love without true judgment, just as there is no beautiful garden without barriers. A garden is chaos within order, a purposefully landscaped area that is fenced off. What makes a garden special is the finiteness and intentional placement of its beauty within a perimeter of order. A forest, beautiful and peaceful it may be, yes, is not a garden, because it's just nature embodying chaos. No judgment has taken place to landscape the forest into something more refined and eye-catching. There's a reason why paradise, the divine primordial home, has been visualized as a garden. The garden upholds the balance between chaos and order. A garden has limitations. I'm using this as a metaphor to describe the value of judgment. We indeed can use judgment in a careless way, condemning what is actually nurturing by allowing into our personal gardens soul-decaying characteristics and behaviors. But we can, on the other hand, use judgment to uphold sacred order in our lives. When we discover the healthful effects from our judgments or the harmful effects of our misjudgments, we may actualize discernment in our experiences. Again, discernment is the ability to judge well. I am of the unpopular belief that judgment which is incorrect can act as the seed for greater awareness of self. Judgments aren't objective in nature. Our judgments of most things inevitably are skewed towards our personal preferences, experiences, and states of mind. And that's okay. Judgments are indicative of where the person who makes them is in terms of their own inner being and consciousness. Judgments, no matter what they are, reveal the person's character who is making the judgment. Take the judgments we make of ourselves. When we are not truly aligned with our mode of being, when deep down we are not in resonance with our patterns or behaviors, judgments arise, and these judgments can feel quite harsh. We gift ourselves a good dose of gnosis, self-knowledge, when we follow what these harsh judgments mean.
We all judge ourselves harshly at times, and those harsh judgments are actually a divine message. If we sat well with the characteristics that we portray and inhabit in our day-to-day, then we would not feel any harsh judgment emerging from within, casting all of this doubt and accusation towards the self. If we're not aligned with what we truly know we should be aligned with, then we will feel these uncontrollable self-judgments coming from the cauldron of unawareness. Our harsh judgments towards self fade more and more the more we grab the reins of our consciousness and the more we understand our place in the cosmos, in our lives, in the world, and in the fabric of creation. So we are told not to judge ourselves so harshly, but we're not actually in control of the judgments that pop up from the intuition. How do we know what the intuition is telling us? Well, we feel it every single moment, and we just don't realize it. The feeling is the compass. The feeling is the force that always lets us know what's behind the facades that we want to remain so hardened. But this is an awakening. This is a process, and we can't run, we can't hide from ourselves. Most of all, from the judgments that are trying to tell us to change. Something needs to change if harsh judgments continuously rise up. Maybe it's how we treat ourselves, our minds, our bodies, how we organize our time, how we treat others. Maybe there is a relationship that should not continue. Maybe there's a relationship that needs to be resurrected. I don't know, because I'm not you. We like to play all of these games hiding from ourselves, and the more we hide from ourselves, the more we will judge ourselves, because judgment is here so we can come to a sensible conclusion that will aid us in the divine journey of expansion. You always judge. Yes, you do. So to think that judgment isn't something you consistently are engaged in is to be a goddamn liar. We have to make considered decisions to come to sensible conclusions. We have to be discerning, and to be discerning is to judge well. Of course, our judgments can be absolutely wrong. And yet, I still think we should follow our judgments. We don't like these qualities out here. Well, what does that say about how we live? I have judged many times beings for being degenerates. I don't like to see other humans treat their bodies like a garbage bin for alcohol, for random sexual partners, for junk food, for drugs, etc., etc. And that judgment that has been directed towards others ultimately gives me the message that I want to live not as a degenerate, but as a regenerate. I'm just giving an example. As long as we follow our judgments absolutely can act as one of the greatest tools for our evolution. The problem, however, arises when we judge in order to distract ourselves from our own processes. And there is so much to judge here, right? So we have to be discerning with our judgment, and we have to judge in a capacity that is beneficial in order to be granted the ability to judge well, which is what discernment is. So, you shall continue judging. I mean, you might even be judging me right now. How can you not? I'm this or that. You enjoy my words, you don't. You like my appearance, you think it's a bit freaky. And all of these judgments are absolutely great as long as you use them to instill your life and your experience with even more greatness. There's a lot of regurgitation in this world. Most of what comes out of people's mouths is simply regurgitation. People love to repeat cookie-cutter concepts that are generally accepted because they're generally accepted. When it comes to judgment, well, it's generally accepted, don't judge others. It depends. It depends. Have some discernment in your judgment. What I'm saying, however, is our judgments naturally arise. We're not exactly in control of our judgments. It's not like we manufacture them. They meet us in our conscious awareness, and then we have to deal with those. And I think the best way to deal with them is to use them as opportunities to grow. We can wage war against ourselves. That's another option. Judgments could arise. And we could say, no, get back down there. You mean nothing. You are bad. But what the fuck will that solve? For a world that always says don't judge others, people are in a pretty pathetic position, huh? And maybe they actually should be judging themselves more harshly, right? To get to a state that is a bit more aware, a bit more knowledgeable, a bit cooler, a bit more embodied, I don't know.
The judgments we make of others, no matter what they are, always reflect what it is we value. Again, don't pretend you don't judge. We all judge. Come on now. Our judgments let themselves be known before we are conscious of their formulation. I don't think it does us any good to war with our judgments. On the contrary, I think we should listen to them to compose the songs that we wish to hear, to be the being we know we can be. So when we judge others in a way that is cruel or harsh, or even when we judge others in a way that is wonderful and complimentary, all of this can be redirected towards our own selves. What do we value? Well, that's the same question as what are we judging? As this or that. It's very common to think, I feel like others will judge me and I don't want to be judged. Some people feel anxious that others will be judgmental. If we're afraid that others will perceive us in a certain light, this has everything to do with our own inability to find comfort in our decisions. The fear that we might be exposed or judged as something is a fear that sheds some light of truth. Oftentimes we would like others to comply with our utopian worldview. Oftentimes we feel uncomfortable in this crazy maze we call life. And because people are so complex, because people are so unpredictable, we can take the confusion we experience in our day-to-day and funnel it into this paradigm which requires others to act a certain way. If only others weren't so hostile and hard to deal with, then I would be okay. Ironically, when we feel like others will judge us, we are judging that others will judge us. It's all very funny, isn't it?
Let's say we don't vibe with the characteristics that we see in others or in someone we know, or even in society at large. We can use this judgment in order to arrive at more clarity for ourselves. What don't we like in the world? Well, that's pretty much the same thing what we don't like in ourselves. What characteristics would we rather not observe out there or in others is the same thing as what characteristics we don't want to play out in our lives. So judgment is actually one of the most crucial necessities of this journey. And it is not unspiritual to judge ourselves or to judge others. The more we can recognize the effects of our judgments, the more we can turn judgment into discernment in every area of our lives.
What you want now? Tell me what you want right now. Tell me what you want right now. You really gotta speak out. Then you gotta really speak out. Come on and push it out. Come on and push it out. Open your mouth and say it loud. Tell me what you want right now. Tell me what you want right now. You know that you can touch down. No, everything is upside down. Come on and push it out. Come on and push it out. Open up and say it loud. There is a mind. It sticks and swells to feeling, and we think it's mine, but it's just silent screaming. I know you wanna say, so come and give it up for a chance to sway. Don't you wanna play? Give a little bit to work it out. Don't you wanna find the beauty in the words that you left inside? Ain't too far away, so how about we jump, we walk the line. What you want right now. You really gotta speak out. No, you really gotta speak out. Come on and push it out. Come on and push it out. Open your mouth and say it loud. Tell me what you want right now. Tell me what you want right now. You know that you can touch down. No, everything is upside down. Come on and push it out. Come on and push it out. Open up and say it loud. Time we'll make some noises so worth making as we align and still all of the shaking. I know you wanna say, so come and give it up for a chance to sway. Don't you wanna play? Give a little bit to work it out. Don't you wanna find the beauty in the words that you left inside?